This is See You Next Time. Koans are a cornerstone of Zen teaching and are often thought of as inscrutable stories, questions, or statements that are used to provoke the great doubt and spark insight within Zen students. Prolonged study is supposed to shatter the ego and promote the development of further insight and compassion and integration of the philosophy into daily life. So, we're going to take a look at some of these koans, and I'm going to throw in my simplistic interpretation of the ideas. Please do feel free to argue with me in the comments. Let's get into it. A cup of tea. Nanin, a Japanese master during the Meiji era, received a university professor who came to inquire about Zen. Nanin served tea. He poured his visitor's cup full and then kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. "It is over full, no more will go in." "Like this cup," Nanin said. "You are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" So, when we're attempting to take on new information, particularly when that information has the potential to rearrange our view of the world, it's vital to at least attempt to strip away our preconceived notions of how things are. There is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. Finding a diamond on a muddy road. Gyudo was the emperor's teacher of his time. Nevertheless, he used to travel alone as a wandering mendicant. Once, when he was on his way to Edo, the cultural and political center of the shogunate, he approached a little village named Takanaka. It was evening and a heavy rain was falling. Gyudo was thoroughly wet. His straw sandals were in pieces. At a farmhouse near the village, he noticed 4 or 5 pairs of sandals in the window and decided to buy some dry ones. The woman who offered him the sandals, seeing how wet he was, invited him in to remain for the night in her home. Gyudo accepted, thanking her. He entered and recited a sutra before the family shrine. He was then introduced to the woman's mother and to her children. Observing that the entire family was depressed, Gyudo asked what was wrong. "My husband is a gambler and a drunkard," the housewife told him. "When he happens to win, he drinks and becomes abusive. When he loses, he borrows money from others. Sometimes when he becomes thoroughly drunk, he does not come home at all. What can I do?" "I will help him," said Gyudo. "Here is some money. Get me a gallon of fine wine and something good to eat. Then you may retire. I will meditate before the shrine." When the man of the house returned about midnight, quite drunk, he bellowed, "Hey, wife, I am home. Have you something for me to eat?" "I have something for you," said Gyudo. "I happened to be caught in the rain, and your wife kindly asked me to remain here for the night. In return, I have bought some wine and fish, so you might as well have them." The man was delighted. He drank the wine at once and laid himself down on the floor. Gyudo sat in meditation beside him. In the morning, when the husband awoke, he had forgotten about the previous night. "Who are you and where do you come from?" he asked Gyudo, who was still meditating. "I am Gyudo of Kyoto, and I am going on to Edo," replied the Zen master. The man was utterly ashamed. He apologized profusely to the teacher of his emperor. Gyudo smiled. "Everything in this life is impermanent," he explained. "Life is very brief. If you keep on gambling and drinking, you will have no time left to accomplish anything else, and you will cause your family to suffer too." The perception of the husband awoke as if from a dream. "You are right," he declared. "How can I ever repay you for this wonderful teaching? Let me see you off and carry your things a little way." "If you wish," assented Gyudo. The two started out. After they had gone 3 miles, Gyudo told him to return. Just another 5 miles, he begged Guido. They continued on. You may return now, suggested Guido. After another 10 miles, the man replied. Return now, said Guido, when the 10 miles had been passed. I am going to follow you all the rest of my life, declared the man. Modern Zen teachings in Japan spring from the lineage of a famous master who was a successor of Guido. His name was Munan, the man who never turned back. Here it seems that the Zen master was able to trigger a sudden reaction of enlightenment within the drunken gambler. Either that or he simply gained a very determined stalker. Is that so? The Zen master Hakuin was praised by his neighbors as one living a pure life. A beautiful Japanese girl whose parents owned a food store lived near him. Suddenly, without any warning, her parents discovered she was with child. This made her parents angry. She would not confess who the man was, but after much harassment, at last named Hakuin. In great anger, the parent went to the master. Is that so? Was all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakuin. By this time he had lost his reputation, which did not trouble him, but he took very good care of the child. He obtained milk from his neighbors and everything else he needed. A year later, the girl mother could stand it no longer. She told her parents the truth. The real father of the child was a young man who worked at the fish market. The mother and father of the girl went at once to Hakuin to ask for forgiveness, to apologize at length, and to get the child back. Hakuin was willing. In yielding the child, all he said was, Is that so? Hakuin simply allowed the world to keep on turning. Is that so? Okay, we're going to wrap it up there for now. I'd absolutely love it if you could tell me in the comments below what you thought of the video and if I should continue to do stuff along these lines. It's stuff I find pretty interesting and I would be delighted if you did too. And remember, most importantly, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. Badly cast. See you next time.